What an honor to have you always, brother. Week after week, I'm loving you more and more for what you stand for and who you are, and thank you for being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me on, brother. I'm loving the platform here. I mean, nothing but truth comes from this platform, and that's what we stand for. So
we certainly do. There certainly won't be any apologizing for hearing and sticking and holding on to God's word on this show.
That's right. That's what it's all about. We're in a place right now where God's telling us to stand. He's not. The heavens are like brass right now. We talked about this last week. I was talking about this to some people today on the phone. Nobody's hearing anything right now. If you're getting a corporate word from someone or they're spitting it off of a conveyor belt right now, that's a red flag right now. You know what I mean? Because the fact of the matter is, I'm not saying God can't speak to someone personally, but on a corporate level right now, the heavens are like brass right now. And it's that way. It's by design. And, there's many parallels. The Lord told me when I first started my ministry, he said that the political will parallel the spiritual and vice versa. What you see happening in the political is happening in the spiritual, whether it's the exposing of corruption or the corruption that's going on or whatever. And, this will be kind of controversial. Don't really care. I'm going to say it anyway. Is that, President Trump right now, what are we hearing from President Trump? Absolutely nothing. And that is prophetic in the sense that we're not hearing anything from God right now, and it is by design. Now, Trump said something years ago in an interview. It was very prophetic. He said, I would like to lose everything for a short period of time to see who's loyal to me. Brother, if there was ever a time we're seeing who's loyal to President Trump, it's right now.
Absolutely.
If there was ever a time we're seeing who's loyal to God right now, it's right now. Mm-hmm. And it's like God is finding out who's who. Look, he's looking for the Gideon 300 here. And you can't be a Gideon 300 if you're apologizing.
Yep, come on.
You can't do it when you're giving back ground that God already gave us in victory. And he's finding out who is who right now. As hard as this is, because this is where character comes into play. This is where faith comes into play. This is where all these different things now. This is a convergence, if you will, on many different dimensions, and I say that literally in many different dimensions right now. It's a convergence of so many different things, and that's why everyone's just like agitated. They're fearful. Right. All these different things that are going on right now, and what God is simply saying is, you've already won this in the spiritual realm. You just have to fight this through and manifest it on earth as it is in heaven right now.
Right.
So that's our job, is to stand right now. We're not to give ground back to the enemy. We are to continue to take ground. We are taking ground. We may not be seeing it with our natural eyes because people are depending on either their intelligence, people that are telling them stuff, or they're depending on news organizations to tell them what's going on. And the fact of the matter is, this is all by design. This is part of the plan. This is part of the war. There's a lot of information, disinformation. And but God's finding out who is for him and who is against him right now, brother. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is the hardest part of this war. See, what everybody wants to find out is when's the arrest going to be made? When's the arrest going to be made? Some of them have already been made, guys. We just haven't heard it. D.C. to me is one big Gitmo right now. That's why it's fenced off. So, I mean, we may not hear these things. We may not see these things in the natural. But see, the problem is, Paul, this is the toughest part of the war. So when we see with our natural eyes the judgment on the evil, the fight's over.
Right.
That's not part of the fight, but that's the part of the fight everyone wants to get to. But we got to cross this path. We got to go down this path, if you will, that God's placed before us before we get to that point. But the problem is the patience is wearing thin. People are getting battle weary. Look, I get it. You know what I mean? People get battle weary at times. If you're getting battle weary, take a break. Take a step back. Take a break. Get before the Lord. Let him speak to you personally right now. But if there's a lot of prophetic words, corporate prophetic words coming out from certain individuals are all over the planet right now, and they're coming out like this. And it's like, you know what? God's not saying a whole lot, brother.
Right.
And that's another red flag to me with some of these people. And it's like God's not speaking a whole lot right now. This is why Trump's not saying anything. Right. It's all by design.
And we're brought up that way, and this is what I mean. I said, thanks to our buddy Chris McDonald, he invited me on the show last week, and we had a great time. And one of the things I explained this way about what's going on right now, we go to high school, and we hear the teacher lecture us about that particular subject that we're in. When it comes sometimes for a test, guess who's quiet? It's reversed. During the day or during the year, we hear the teacher talking and the students quiet because we're supposed to be learning and listening. But during the test, it's just the opposite. It's the teacher that becomes silent, actually the whole class becomes silent, but It's the teacher that goes silent. And the only thing she will say is, do your test, finish your test, shut up and finish the test.
Right.
And that's what's happening now. God spoke to us. He gave us word, and we were to listen. We're not supposed to throw everything that the teacher said away. If we throw it away, we're going to miss the test. We're going to fail the test. We're not going to know the answers.
Right.
But God right now is being silent, and we're going through that sit at your desk and be still and soak in the word of God. That's what we're at right now. And God is truly finding out who's going to pass this test, who's going to get the A, and who's going to get the F. And that's where God's at right now. We have to search and we have to strive for that A to get through this. And I told somebody a couple of days ago that I was talking to, they're like, I'm so tired. I don't want to fight anymore. And I said the same thing you said, go get in your prayer closet and rest for a while. But do not stop. Do not give up. During the test, our brain works the hardest, trying to recall everything that the teacher taught us. And that's what we're going through spiritually right now.
Right.
We have to recall everything that God has spoken to us and write that down and not change the answer, not change it at all. Don't change the questions because it's there for a reason and on purpose. And that's where I see us spiritually. God's being quiet now. We got to go through this test.
That's right. And look, this is where our training comes in.
Absolutely.
It's no different than special forces, no different than the fire department. We train for certain situations. We train and we train and we train. Blood, sweat, and tears, literally. And it's when the rubber meets the road is when the training kicks in. And now what you're also finding out are those who were properly trained and those who were improperly trained.
Yeah.
So we're finding out a lot of things on a lot of different levels right now,
yes,
brother.
We are.
And so it ought to be obvious to a lot of people, to the mature warfighter out there, it ought to be very obvious what we're seeing out here, what's being exposed in each individual, every man, woman, and child, especially the leadership. I had a conversation with Mike Smith today, our good buddy Mike Smith.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, he says, people ought to be scared when Trump is silent. I said, brother, people ought to be scared when God is silent.
Yeah.
And I said, do you think the enemy right now is not quaking? Not just from just Trump being silent. They're quaking because God is silent right now because they know their time is up. They know all the evil on this planet, their time is up. It's short. It's very short. They got very little time left right now because I'm telling you, judgment is about to wreak havoc on the earth. And this is why you're seeing demons manifest in every shape, form, and fashion right now all over the earth because even they know their time is up. Look, we know there are people out there, Paul, who are unredeemable, period. And they're not going to give their life to Christ no matter what. There's nothing you, me, or the fence post can do about it. It's our job to continue to pray for their souls. It's not our job to pick and choose who goes and who stays. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or who gets judgment and who doesn't, right? So it's just our job to continue to pray for these people. But this is what you're dealing with, even subconsciously right now. I was talking to a friend of mine today, and he said, it's weird. He said, nobody's celebrating in the streets about this with Biden.
Yeah.
And we brought this up on the program before. Why is no one celebrating in the streets over Biden right now or when he won it? It was crickets because there's something in every person on this planet that knows something's not right.
Yeah.
Something's not right about this whole supposed president, okay? Presidency. He's the CEO of a defunct bankrupt corporation, but people know deep down inside, those who were even Biden supporters or the left supporters, they even know something's not right.
Right. Yeah. When you begin to search the internet and please get off of mainstream media if you're still on it.
Yes.
But if they search the internet, there's a lot of oddities that just not making any sense at all. And it's not status quo for the president at all.
No.
Everything's being done behind doors, behind backs. creeping in, and it's just not right. There's nothing that is status quo for the president right now.
Well, and look, this is where we have to stand on what God has said is coming, right?
Yes.
I have been doing this now for almost 5 years, and through the prophetic words that God has given me since 2011, some of these words are still coming to pass. Some haven't started coming to pass. Some are in the process of coming to pass. They're all at different stages, different levels of where they're coming.
Right.
And we just got to believe what God has told us is coming. You know, go to the website, swordrescue.com. You can print them off for free. You lay them out. It's like a blueprint, where we've come from, where we're going. But God's not going to tell us every step of the way of how we're going to get there. Otherwise, we'd have no need for faith. But
Right.
this is a time of character of testing. This is where the time of training, all these years, is coming in. You know, but I mean, we just have to stand on what God has told us. We got to believe it's going to come forth. It doesn't come forth in our timing, because we live in this microwave society. They want it right now. Otherwise, you're a false prophet or it's a false word.
Right.
You know, I had a guy, the Evil Crew of 32. It was like 3 months after that. This guy says, "It didn't come to pass. You're a false prophet." That's what he sends me an email.
Right.
But that's just how that's how this society's wired. We want everything right now. And, you know, we still have prophetic words in the Bible that haven't come to pass. And I don't hear them calling him false prophet. You know what I mean? It's amazing. The mentality right now of what we're dealing with. It's very difficult because people are still living in the matrix. They're still living, they're still being controlled, brainwashed, so to speak.
Right.
We're having to try to break through that brainwashing. Even the Christians are some of the worst, actually. I hate to say that, but they are some of the worst. And so we're having to break the mind control or the brainwashing from the media and some of the rogue pastors that have been teaching these guys, you know, prosperity gospel or hyper grace or whatever it is. And we're having to break through all of that. And we just have to be patient. We got to be loving. And look, we can't be divided right now. That's the other thing. We really can't be divided. You know, even though God's judgment is here on people, it's here on the leadership, it's here on the church, it's on everything right now. We just have to be loving as much as we can. God's exposing things on a level we've never seen before. So we just have to move forward with what we have.